welcome to Sammy C. Press. Today, I'm going to answer a question that I have received a lot of. How did you come up with the Surviving Mom comic? Well, the content was rather easy. Since this is a house full of dyslexics, there's a lot of imagination as well as creativity, and some downright funny moments, and other moments that were not so funny until looking back on them. Most of the comics were actually word-for-word moments that we actually had, except for the part where I'm a T-Rex. That obviously didn't happen. As far as the sharks in Nady's pool, well, that's drawn from my experience as a child. I always felt like there were sharks in pools. I'd have to look around before I jumped in. And then when I jumped in, I needed to look around to make sure there was none under there blending in. And then when I went to get out, I would go as fast as I could, my heart would be pounding, and I'd look back just to make sure there was no shark getting ready to eat me. Well, I'm still here, so obviously I have not been eaten. That happened till the age of 14. And at a much later age that I'm not going to mention, I would still run and jump into my bed, just in case. Like I said, a lot of imagination. So, that covers the content. Now on to the artwork. Many are familiar with and have used a substance called Play-Doh or polymer clay. You can smush it and smash it, shaping it into the object you like for example, these cute little bears. That's what we did with Surviving Mom. Only we did it digitally, using a program called Blender. It was about 10 years ago that Sammy C number 2 and 3 found a YouTuber by the name of Blender Guru and his amazing donut tutorial. If you're interested in learning more about Blender, he is, well, the guru for a reason. This comic strip would not be possible without his willingness to share his talent. Thanks, Blender Guru. Now for the fun part. I'm going to shrink down into the machine, or computer, so I can give you a behind-the-scenes tour. Sammy C number 3 is going to be steering the ship as I do the narrating. Hope you enjoy. We are now inside of Blender. Do you see that square there? That's where it all began. But first, we need to delete the cube. I have no idea why, but it's something that Sammy C number 3 says is a part of Blender culture. Then, add another cube. Let's move on to the base characters. Sammy, can you open base characters for us, please? Awesome. So here we see the 4 cubes that have been shaped into characters for the comic strip. You probably recognize the mother's pose from the cover of the book. We wanted to do something simple yet fun. But even simple is time consuming. We spent about 60 hours in Blender total. Now for someone like Blender Guru or CG Geek, it probably would have taken somewhere around 5 hours. But we're what you would call intermediate. Okay, number 3, can you open up Nady Blend for us, please? So why did we do 3D models for the characters instead of draw them, you ask? Well, it's a bit time consuming in the beginning. It really saves a lot of time in the long run and help the art to be more consistent. You can see that we can take the base characters and add clothing and even change their poses. Here's an example of a character known as Nady. We have Swimsuit Nady, Brave Explorer Nady, Scientist Nady, and then Everyday Nady. With these models, we can move their arms, their legs, and take a picture of them. That way, we do not have to draw Nady a million different times by hand. Now let's move on to the next room. Can you open rooms and then kitchen and dining room, please? So here, we modeled the inside of the home so that we can move the camera around to take pictures from different angles. This also helped with consistency, color, and perspective. Can you zoom so that we can see the kitchen and the dining room? There you go. See, the kitchen is on the left and the dining room is on the right. Very nice. Okay, so now let's open the rooms and move on to the bedroom. This is Nadie and Jonathan's bedroom on the right. Now we can zoom so we can also see my bedroom on the left. And if you zoom out even further, you'll be able to see Jonathan on the right side. Oh, wait, who's that? There's Nadie and me on the left, and then Jonathan's on the right side, ready to be moved in to be able to capture the scene. Now let's jump outside briefly. So can you open the outdoor Blender? I thought this was super cool. There's actually a cylinder around the home that we can change between night and day to be able to get some really nice shots of the yard. Here you can see the backyard, and we can spin around so that we can see the front of the yard. Awesome. And then on the left side, can you zoom so that we can see the cylinder that's wrapping around the home? Check that out. Isn't that awesome? It's in its own little enclosure there. So now let's jump back into the house, into the hallway. This is no ordinary hallway. This is Nadie's entrance to a spaceship, as you can see from the model on the right. Isn't that super cool? Do you have a hallway like this in your home? Or maybe a fort? Okay, so now let's go to Nadie in Space Blend. Here is Nadie all modeled and ready to go explore the edges of the galaxy. We can't let him go too far from home. Here is what spacesuit Nadie looks like when he's rendered. If you're not familiar with that term, you may be asking yourself, he's what? Rendered means to cause to become. Rendering is a lot like taking a photograph of a scene that only exists in the computer. Here's an example. If I ask you to draw a squirrel with glasses, you would be making a rendering of my instructions. But for the computer, it needs a lot more specific and detailed instructions to be able to come up with even something that we would consider simple. Okay, now we're looking at Spaceship Blend. This is our last stop in the tour. We're going to check out Nadie's spaceship as it's poised and ready to explore the planet's rocky surface. As you can see, it's simply a piece of terrain that has been modeled with a sun or planet at the end. I cannot remember which one that was supposed to be. Now let's zoom in to see the ship and follow along as it travels through the rocky course. You can see the thing floating behind it is actually the camera, so we can catch different angles as it's traveling through. And that ends our tour of Blender. But I'd like to show you a couple pictures that we have because we use what's known as the grease pencil. You'll notice that when we were looking at the rooms, it didn't have the dark black lines that you now see. The grease pencil is what adds these black lines when rendered. But as Sammy C number 3 has repeatedly told me, you can do this before rendering and it can be more precise. Let me show you a couple more pictures before we leave Blender. Here's some more with the penciling. You can see the base characters that we talked about and the different pictures with the backgrounds. There's Nadie flying through space without his spacesuit, surviving mom herself, our beautiful planets and stars, our home that has been rendered with the grease pencil, and our lovely backyard, complete with a pool with sharks, and surviving mom's bedroom with Mr. Snuggles, celebrity right there. The kids' bedroom when it is not the way it should look. Also, I wanted to bring out one point here. You see that lamp? Sometimes when you upload 3D models, there could be a lot of mesh. And when there's a lot of mesh, it can make it take a really long time to render. So sometimes it's good to simplify as much as you can so the rendering process doesn't take quite as long. Oh, there's Nadie and Jonathan enjoying breakfast or lunch or dinner or something that hasn't been delivered yet. We hope that you have enjoyed the tour. But before we go, let's give a big round of applause and a thank you to Sammy C number 3 for steering the ship. Well done. Now we must travel on to our next destination, which is Canva. Now I'm sure there are other programs that you could use for this next step. I chose Canva simply because I already knew how to navigate it. Although they recently updated again, so I have to learn my way around a little bit. Remember how I said that we exported the pictures from Blender? Well, now we upload those exports into Canva. This is where the comic strip is made. Here, we can see some of the rooms, some of the pictures we captured from Blender. Some of them already have the people in them, some of them do not. We can see our night and day of our house front and back, as well as the bedrooms. Messy and not so messy. We also can see our characters and the many different poses and positions that we captured, which really makes putting this comic together much more streamlined. Here is some of the planet designs as well as the awesome hallway of Nady. And then of course we have Jonathan and the many different forms he takes. So all this really made it more enjoyable and more fun. So now we're going to talk about, just for a second, how long this took. So, it was about 20 hours of brainstorming, somewhere between 70 to 90 hours on this part in Canva, as well as around 60 hours in Blender. So in total, we're talking 160 hours. Okay, so I put together this comic for you to be able to kind of see step by step of how the process that I took putting it together. So first, we find our background. Then, we think about our characters and their positions and what they're going to say. So here we have a simple conversation between Jonathan and his mother. He just asks, "What's for dinner?" And she says something delicious, which is generally never a good sign in our house. Next, oops, I did this a little backwards, sorry. There we go. We have our background first, and then we have the speech bubbles. So Nady says, "What's the verdict?" And Jonathan says, "The worst, something delicious." There is only one thing she means when she says that. And our next strip, the background, and then we have our irate characters. Now you see that shovel there? And then Jonathan's little hand? Well, there we go. I made it look like he's holding the shovel with that little trick. And we have our speech bubbles. Nathaniel says, "That only leaves us with one option." And then Jonathan says, "I'll meet you out back." So the situation is really escalating here. Something serious is getting ready to happen. So again, we're picking our background. We see the backyard, the sandbox, our shovel. Some sand piles. Is that spaghetti sauce? And spaghetti noodles? This is getting odd. A giant sandcastle, and here's our characters. So now we get to read the speech bubbles. Jonathan says, "How many of these do we have to hide until she gets the point?" Now, in Nady's speech bubble, this demonstrates the importance of proofreading before you show your audience or publish. But unfortunately, with my dyslexia, even though I try as hard as I cannot always find mistakes. So it's supposed to say, "It's hard to tell. We hid it as well as we could, so we should be spaghetti free once again." So there you have it. It's as simple as that. One last little comic I thought would be kind of fun to end our little tour here on Canva. We have space, and then there's Nady's head and Denny, and they're just floating out there. No, they're in the spaceship. And then let's see what they have to say. Nady says, "Do you think we inspired them, Denny, to look past the stars to see their full potential, not allowing anyone or anything to hold them back from accomplishing extraordinary things or believing in themselves?" And Denny, always the optimist, says, "Hopefully. You never know with you humans, though." So I hope you enjoyed this behind-the-scenes tour of Canva, and I'm going to hop out of the machine and have a little bit more to say before we go. See you in a moment. Whew! Am I glad to be out of there. It is hot and dusty. This is my old pal Avalanche. This machine is powerful enough to run Blender as well as the rendering we talked about. If you have not yet heard of Surviving Mom, you can check it out on my Amazon author page by simply clicking the link in the description below. To all those who have loved and supported and enjoyed the strip through the years, thank you so much. If this video has sparked an interest in checking out Blender, remember to check out Blender Guru's Donut Tutorial. I am not affiliated with him in any way, I just really like the way he teaches. Remember, he's a guru for a reason. Canva is also a free program that I am not affiliated with, but I do enjoy using it. Although I feel as though a lot more of the things on there are pro these days, which you have to pay for. Continue to be inspired, and remember to laugh at life's silly moments. Until next time.